Do violent video games make people violent? What's up, YouTube? It's Hector from Not Too Nerdy, and welcome back to another weekly vlog. Now let's go over this real quick, what I did last week. I did quick tip number 3. This was the best rendering settings for Sony Vegas 12. This is what I use, so something that you guys might want to see. It's pretty cool. It's very quick. The next video I did was once again Warframe Wednesday, but I talked about, did Xbox Live go down during Titanfall release? Now I had some problems with it, so I was kind of curious what you guys had with it, and I just want to know, everyone else's opinion about it. Then after that, I showed Let's Play Dead Nation Apocalypse Edition. This was on Thursday. I did a little single player. I'm horrible at the game. That game is pretty hard by yourself, so definitely check it out. It's pretty funny. And after that, I did a video saying that I'll be at the Game Developers Conference, and that, I'll be there throughout the whole week next week, so it should be fun. It's in San Francisco, California, so definitely check out the video. I pretty much announced all that stuff in there, so it's pretty cool. Then Saturday, once again, I did another Don't Starve Saturday. Just continue with Wolfgang, or the strong man. But he's kind of an annoying character, but I mean, I'm starting to get used to him a little bit. I'm getting a little bit better at it, so I think I'm on, I forgot what day I am, but I did survive. But you can definitely see that how I did. I was close to dying a couple times, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty much it. Next week, I will be away, like I said, but I did set up some videos already. I already have an unboxing for Metal Gear Solid. So that's, don't miss that unboxing. Plus, I'll show the walkthrough or playthrough for the game. And I'm also gonna do Warframe Wednesday as always. And also Friday, Infamous Second Son comes out, so I'll show you the unboxing for that as well. I might show you on Tuesday because I did get both games early, so it depends how I set it up. I don't remember how I set it up, but yeah, so you might see that Tuesday too, or you might just wait Friday to see the unboxing. And Saturday is Don't Starve Saturday, so definitely check that out. So the reason I'm going a little bit quicker is because there's an issue that I want to talk about, and this is something that's been going on, for the last 10 years or so. And that topic is, do violent video games make people violent? Now, I know what you're thinking. Why did I say people? Isn't it supposed to be, does it make kids violent, or does it make teens more violent? Well, I'm saying people because here's my problem with this whole thing. People keep saying it makes kids more violent. Well, that's funny because the violent video games, the ones that are really violent, has a mature rating that is supposed to be 17 or older. Some of them are 18 and older. So how are these kids getting access to these games? You know what I mean? So how are you going to blame someone for something that the kids are not supposed to have to begin with? Now, that's my number one argument. Anytime someone talks about, oh, well, games are too violent. No. It's the parents not doing their job. If they feel that their kids are not capable of handling a game, then they shouldn't give them access to the game, because the parents are the ones buying it for these kids. You know what I mean? The parents are the ones that are in charge. Even if, you go to a friend's house, a kid, right, and that friend has a violent video game, well, that parent should be like, well, should I really let my son or daughter show their friend that I didn't get permission from their parents? Should I let them show a violent game? It's stuff like that parents have to do their job. And I think that parents use the excuses, when something goes wrong, when something goes bad, they say, well, they like to blame a certain media. It used to be back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember the Columbine incident, the high school shooting and stuff like that. The ones that they blamed back then was the Matrix. They said, oh, the people dressed up in a trench coat. They had a trench coat mafia, and they brought out all these weapons and it looked like a scene from the Matrix. So they blamed the movie. And how people perceived it didn't go too well. People really didn't blame the movie. People saw the movie, people enjoyed the movie. They didn't blame the movie for it. In fact, the Matrix did very well with their trilogy. So they didn't listen to that whole theory. So what did the media do? They're like, we gotta figure out a new type of media, that's new to put fear in people. Say we could put the blame on that, and that blame is video games. Unfortunately, that's the easiest thing to blame. Everyone is blaming them. The government right now is trying to put the spin to say that video games are the cause of it. That's why right now, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's certain taxes that are going to be put on violent video games as opposed to games that are not violent. So my question to you is, how do you determine if a game's violent or not? Like, because there's some games like Super Mario Brothers. Is that a violent video game? There's no blood or anything, but you are jumping and destroying enemies. So is that considered violent? You know what I mean? Is that what you're gonna say? Like, if a kid sees someone jump on a Goomba, they're gonna go jump on their friend's head and accidentally kill the person? You know, they're gonna blame it on Mario because Mario told them to do it. You know, like, is a racing game going to be considered violent? Because don't you crash in racing games? Don't you sometimes try to bump into the other driver to get the edge in front of them? You know, is that going to tell drivers that, hey, if you want to get ahead, you have to bump into the driver in real life? So you're going to get people to grow up and start swerving into people so they could get past the, you know, so they could get to the exit first. Like where is it going to stop? At what point does it stop? You know, I'm going to bring a couple stats right here for you. Now, a survey in 2013 says the average gamer is age 30. Okay, so that's the target audience. When you're a game developer and you develop a game, the target audience is around 30. So 32% are under 18 years old. So only 32% are under 18 years old. 32% are the age is 18 to 35. And 36% are ages 36 plus. So that means, if you do the math correctly, 68% are 18 and over. That's 68%. That's a lot of people that play video games over the age 18. Okay? So that tells you right there that their target audience are older people. So their target audience are people that can make decisions on their own. For people that are already adults, they're not going to turn them violent because it's a violent video game. So for you to say, oh, well, they shouldn't have violent video games, wrong. Just like they have violent movies, just like they have violent things on the internet. I mean, if you really want to protect people, kids, from violence, then you should censor the news. Because if you sit down and watch the news for 10 minutes, you see people dying in the real world. Not in the video game world. In the real world, you see people dying with certain weapons and all that stuff. So they really care about the violence. Wouldn't they stop that? To me, it's just ridiculous about this whole video games make kids violent. Video games make teens violent. Well, how are these kids and teens getting access to these games? The parents. So it comes back to you, the parents. You know, it comes back to the people that are supposed to be watching these kids and explain to them. This is the perfect opportunity for you to give them a game. If you do give them a violent game, explain to them the difference between right or wrong. The difference between something that's real and something that is fake. And I think that's where the problem lies. It doesn't lie with the game itself. It lies with the parent not being a parent and letting the kids know exactly the difference between something that is violent and something that's not violent. You know, there's a magical switch on every console. You know, there's always a button that's an off button. If there's ever a situation where you feel that it's too violent, that you feel that it's too much gore, or you feel that it's just not for you, you can always turn the game off. Nothing wrong with that. There's always an off button. See, that's the difference you have to teach these kids, and you have to teach them as a parent. Say, look, there's an off button. In real world, if you do stuff like this, if you choose to do anything like this that you just saw in this game, there is no off button. You're done. You're going to jail. You're going to end up dead. That's it. There's no way out of that. And I think that's what parents have to do to explain to these kids. And the studies don't even show, they don't even match up with what the government and people are saying. Because there's been researchers from Britain that did a 15-year research, and they concluded that video games do not make people more violent. They concluded after 15 years. 15 years is a long time. And yet the government does something for like a year and a half and they conclude, oh, it makes them violent. What? What games were you studying with? What games were you testing? Because once again, you have to determine which game is truly violent in your eyes. Which game is violent? And you have to compare them to people that are playing games that are not violent. Not to mention, how do you know the person didn't have added aggression to begin with? Like, that's the thing that bugs my mind. Like, how do you know that they didn't have added aggression? Were the people you're studying, were they locked in a room with nothing else for years? Like, how can you determine if the video game is the cause of the added aggression and not any other media, because people have access to everything these days. Internet, they have access to TV, and they have access to video games. How do you know it wasn't one of those? That's the thing that bugs me out when people say that. I know that the reason is that video games are still new. And if you look at the years video games have been around, it's still new, especially the games that when it started to look more realistic. It's still new to people. So therefore, it's easy for them to say it's a video game's fault. But I'll tell you one thing, those massacres that happen way before video games ever existed. And guess what? It's going to happen way after. If you ever get rid of video games, it's still going to happen. And then what? Who are you going to blame next? Who's going to be the next blame for these massacres that happen? That's the thing that drives me crazy. And here's a quote that pretty much summarizes how a lot of people pretty much explain violent video games. And this is from Dr. Phil, if he even is a real doctor. If you shoot somebody in one of these games, you don't go to jail. You don't get penalized in some way. You get extra points. And that's his quote. That's what he says. That's why he says that video games are bad, and he tries to persuade the audience, and the parents go sit down and they watch this show and they're like, oh wow, Dr. Phil says this, so therefore I'm going to do it. Dr. Phil's an idiot, first of all. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Alright, I don't even know if he's a real doctor or not. But the point is, he's a complete idiot. He does things, he's on TV. He says things to say. But I don't know about you, but there's games that people perceive to be violent and they do get penalized and they end up going to jail or they get shot and killed in the game. Isn't that a consequence? So you're saying that it's okay to have a violent game, there's a consequence in the game? It doesn't make any sense. Your argument's totally off. And this whole thing, in my opinion, it's not a bad thing for violent video games. And if it is a bad thing, that's why we have a warning label on it. That's why it says ages 17 and up or ages 18 and up. Then what? Why do you buy the kid a game then if you thought it was too violent for the kid? Are you done being a parent? Do you not care about your kid? So anytime someone asks me about a violent video game, how I feel about it, because I am a developer, like, how do you feel about violent video games? That's what I tell them. I tell them that our age group, the target audience, is not kids. The target audience, when it's 17 and up, is just that. 17 and up, or 18 and up, whatever we put down on the case, that's our target audience. So follow it. We give that to you guys for a reason. If you choose not to follow it, then don't blame us. Blame yourselves. And that's all I have to say for this week. So let me know what you guys think about this topic. How do you feel about violent video games? I know it's been a subject that's going on for like the last 10 years, but for me, it's something that's going on every day. I hear it all the time, especially with the company that I work for and stuff like that. It has to do with a game that's very violent. So I hear this argument all the time, and it drives me upset. And I don't blame it on a video game. I blame it on the topic that's getting me upset. So that's pretty much it. So this is Hector from Not Too Nerdy. See you guys. Oh wait, before I go, don't forget to like my Facebook fan page. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe and like on this page, alright? I really appreciate that. Thanks, guys. So, see you guys.